What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Medical Sales Live. Good to see everybody. This time, it looks like everything's working. Hello to everybody. Hello to my to the wonderful Medical Sales Network Effects members over on Zoom. So let's go ahead and get started. And as always, if you happen to be watching this on LinkedIn or Twitter or YouTube, we want to hear where you are joining in from. So go ahead and drop a comment. Let us know what city you're watching this from. Oh, I see somebody in the San Diego area. What's up? Hey, John? All right. You got people from New York? Okay. So go ahead and just drop a comment. Let us know where you're watching from, and we'll get started. So today's topic, we're going to have one short topic today, and then, of course, we're going to go straight to students and members in the Medical Sales Network Effects program, see what questions they got. And if you're not in the program, you can definitely learn more about it. Just click the link in this post or go straight to my profile. Watch the webinar that's in the featured section or just shoot me a message. As always, if you're on LinkedIn, you leave a really good comment, I will highlight it. Todd, joining in from Long Beach. Thank you very much. Good to see you. Good to see you. All right. And I see the emojis and everything. Great. Peter Harris joining from Boca Raton, Florida. All right. Well, for some reason, my camera unplugged, and it looks like we are. Yep. I spoke too soon, everybody. I said we weren't going to have any technical issues, and we did. Let me. Looks like I was muted that whole time. Okay, now I'm back, I think. No audio. Okay. Here we go. Yep, I think audio's back. You know, I promise everybody at one point we're gonna have a show where we don't have any technical difficulties, but until that happens, like, you know, this is just gonna, it's just unfortunately, it's part of the platform. If you're on LinkedIn or YouTube or anywhere, can you just confirm that you're hearing me? Let's see. Looks like my audio is working. No audio. Now I can hear Peter Harris. If there's an MVP, Peter Harris. All right. No audio. There we go. Now I hear myself. Not sure what the issue is. I apologize. Okay, so let's talk about the importance of questions. Okay, so the kind of questions you're going to ask are important, right? And the reason why is that if, for example, you've worked very, very hard, you're trying to get a meeting with a surgeon. So I'll give you a great example. When I was early in my career, there's a surgeon I was trying to meet with. Finally, found a day where I was able to time it correctly. He was there. They took me to the back of his office so I can meet with him, and I screwed it up royally. Why? Because what I thought were the right questions to ask were a waste of his time. And let me give you an example. What most salespeople will do is they'll send a message to a surgeon or to a doctor and say, hey, my name is Sally Mae. My name is John Smith. My name is XYZ. And I work with this company, and I'm new. I'm responsible for territory. I'd love to come by and introduce myself and learn more about your practice. Okay. The problem with that is that when a sales rep shows up at the practice, or let's say in the OR, they're going to ask literally the exact same questions that every other medical sales rep has asked. And it's annoying, right? Imagine you're a doctor, and at least even once or twice a month, you have to answer these exact same questions. Tell me about your practice. What's your bread and butter procedure? How do you like to approach XYZ? Those are waste of time questions. And here's the reason why. Anything that you can look up online or through research papers, you should not be asking about, right? And the reason for this is that what the human mind psychologically looks for is novelty. Okay, novelty meaning something new. And so if you're a surgeon and you keep getting the same questions, everything, you take less of those meetings, right? That's why what's one of the main reasons why surgeons don't want to meet with reps. It's the same thing. They already know what's going to happen. You're going to ask these questions, you're going to find something, and then you're going to pitch your product, right? Now, how do you go around that, right? The first thing is what's called priming. Priming. This is a concept that Malcolm Gladwell wrote in one of his books. It's an old psychological concept, which means what do you do to prime somebody beforehand? Okay. And Robert Cialdini wrote about this in his book Persuasion, which is what is being done to marinate the mind, to prepare the mind before the point of persuasion. Okay. So, for example, if you are trying to sell wine, all right, this is a key example here. If you're trying to sell wine, and let's say you're trying to sell German wine, that's hard to do, right? I think we'd all agree with that, right? And let me double check my audio. Yep, my audio is still working. So in order to do that, right, what they did this experiment is that you can go into a wine store, you can buy Italian wines, French wines, all these things. German wine's probably the last one. Sorry for my audience in Germany, but it's just true. But when they play German music, right, that primes the mind to think about German things, etc. And then wine sales of German sold wine go up. So how do you translate that to questions in terms of what you ask, right? What I recommend is this. Number one, do the research, like sharpen the axe. So what does that mean? Get online, do the basics. The basics are look up and read the last 3 to 5 research papers this physician published or co-authored, That's number one. Number two, read their faculty page if they have it. If they're in private practice, go to their practice page. After that, go to YouTube. Are there any YouTube videos on them? Go on Facebook, go on Instagram. This is intelligence gathering. You should not talk to a doctor until you learn everything about them and their practice. Otherwise, it's a huge waste of time. You're walking in blindly. Once you've done that, you will find a pattern. You will realize, oh, you know what? This spine surgeon actually has a really strong interest in minimally invasive spine surgery, but they don't do robotic spine surgery. Let's use that as an example, right? So now that you know that, you can start thinking about questions to ask. And guess what? The first 3 questions you think of to ask are not the questions you should ask, because the first 3 you think of are probably the most obvious ones. To really come up with a good question, you have to sit down and think. Thinking about thinking is the most important kind of thinking you're going to do. And so when you look at this, right, that's when you're able to find really interesting questions that'll entice a surgeon to meet with you. Okay. So let's say that it's, you do some more research on minimally invasive spine surgery, whatever technique they do, and you come across some other approaches to the technique, right? Something different. Okay. Go on LinkedIn. A lot of surgeons are posting their cases on there as well, and see what they're talking about. It doesn't have to be that spine surgeon you talk to. You can go on LinkedIn and look at other spine surgeon posts. Then when you do your outreach through email, or what I recommend is Messenger, right? You can do a text, just simple text message. Or if you want to get really fancy, send a video sales letter, which there's software to do that. What you should do, let's just look at the first line of the message. You need to get straight to the point, not, hey, my name's XYZ and this long introduction. You need to pretend that they're your friend already. So how would you message your friend? Hey, John, hope you're doing well. I was checking out this, some of your research papers or your recent video online or whatever you checked out, and say, I noticed you're doing this procedure, and I was wondering what it would be like if you took this other approach, or wonder if you considered this other thing that this other surgeon's doing, right? And don't focus on your product. Make this about them. And that, what I was going to say is the two most powerful words when it comes to persuasion, specifically hypnosis. And the words are wonder and curious. Okay? Let me give you an example. If I see you and I talk to you, I'm like, is it going to rain this Saturday? Man, maybe. But what if I say something like, I wonder if it's going to rain this Saturday? Just that one word will get you to start imagining and thinking about that, right? Is Bill Gates really good at softball, right? It's like yes or no. I wonder if Bill Gates is really good at software. So I'm curious if Bill Gates is good at softball. Using specific words, if you do it the right way with the right tonality, right, will trigger a hypnotic state. This is what people in psychology do all the time, and you can do this online, right? If you do a video sales letter, you can do that. But let's just say you use a simple email or a message. That's what you have to do, which is get straight to the point. Hey, Dr. Smith, I checked out your last article or last paper. It was fantastic. I wonder why other surgeons haven't adopted this, right? If you can share any insight or direct me to anything, I'd love to check it out. Now, most salespeople, I know what you're going to say. Oh, the doctor doesn't give a shit about that. They're not going to, waste their time talking to you. You would be surprised, because physicians naturally, they go into autopilot for things that they've been trained on. And whether you're in private practice or academic practice, the idea of teaching is naturally. That's why, even old salespeople who've been in the industry for more than 10 years will tell you the easiest way to get into a surgeon's OR, just say, hey, I'm really curious to learn about this procedure. Do you mind if I shadow you? That's like easiest way. The only difference what I'm doing now is that you're translating that same curiosity into the digital realm. Now, let's say that, you do that, they direct you somewhere, and then you're able to meet with them in person, right? Let's say you happen to see them at the hospital, at a conference, or you get lucky, you get a meeting with them. Really think about that experience. It's about the customer, it's about them. So the questions you ask need to help them illuminate potential areas where they might have problems and lead them to a solution. So you can't go in asking a question like, tell me about your practice. You can figure that out, right? A better question. So if you, again, the deeper layers you go, the more you'll be able to impress them. And think about this even with your interviews. When you interview with a company, the type of question I've sold myself into many companies and consulting engagements just based on the quality of questions I asked. I don't have to pitch, nothing. And so with a surgeon, instead of saying, tell me about your practice, you can say something like this: Dr. Smith, I notice like in your practice, you do a lot of minimally invasive surgery. And so I would imagine that's kind of your bread and butter. I'm wondering, if it was up to you and let's say you couldn't do minimally invasive surgery, what's the next type of procedure that you enjoy doing? And which procedure would you wish you'd be doing more of, right? Asking novel questions like that gets them thinking. It tells them that you've done your work, right? And again, the purpose of questions, when you have only so few words, you got to pick your words very, very wisely. You got 5 minutes with a surgeon, you don't waste your time with this, hey, tell me about your practice. Part of this is the question needs to persuade. It needs to set the tone. It needs to differentiate you from every other rep. At the same time, it needs to give you extremely valuable information, right? And the best questions, take medical sales out of this, right? And I see some emojis going up, by the way. If you like what I'm saying, hit the emoji bar. And if you have a comment, go ahead and drop it. The best questions all do two things. Okay. So the two words I want you to consider baking into your questions is using the word wonder and curious again, right? And the end result you're trying to do is, number one, have them to start using their imagination, because the moment you use imagination, that's very persuasive. Perfect example. And I learned this actually from Ken Husted and Chris Sells at Mazor, is that when you meet with a surgeon, ask them what their vision is like. Dr. So-and-so, what's most important for you in terms of your career and legacy you're trying to build, like in the next 5 or 10 years, like if you can have anything? Because then you're going to hear different things. If it's, let's say, I'm generalizing here, if it's a younger surgeon, they might say something like, yeah, you know what, I really want to establish myself at this hospital. I want to be next up in line to be chair, right? And so I really need to get a foothold on that, right? I need to establish authority. If it's an older surgeon, they might say something like, hey, I really want to sort of ease out of practice, but I want to have something sort of leave a legacy behind, like kind of like be known for something. They might say stuff like that. That tells you something. And the reason why that's more valuable than tell me about your practice is that now you're learning about what? Desires and fears. That's the other thing about questions, is that if you ask questions, do your best to have them illuminate a pain or a fear. Why? If you look at all your buying and purchasing behaviors as a consumer, it's on rare occasion you buy something because you stand to gain, right? You might even think that you're doing that, right? But you're really not. Look, cryptocurrency, people buying Bitcoin. Someone might argue like, oh, but that's an example where someone bought Bitcoin to gain, right? On the surface, yes. But when you dive deeper, it's really about fear, because what? It's the fear of, if this thing takes off, I don't want to miss out on that. Human beings make decisions and take action and change behavior, not based on joy or desire or anything. It's really because of fear and something they're trying to run away from. The sooner you get to the heart of that, the more you're able to not only persuade, but most importantly, help that customer, right? And I think the more you focus on the customer in this process, the closer you'll get to becoming a truly trusted advisor and not just another rep slinging XYZ products. So that's the main topic I want to cover. And now I'm going to refresh my Google Doc. Let's see if I have any questions from the members in my program. For those of you who are listening and on Zoom, by the way, for those who are on Zoom, I know you can't see me. I have my camera turned off, so that way my bandwidth doesn't blow up. So for those who are on Zoom, if you have a question, go ahead and raise your hand. Click the raise hand emoji button, or drop it in the chat, and I'll answer it. And those who are on LinkedIn, sometimes it's quiet over there for my members group, and so when they're quiet, that means you have a fantastic opportunity to essentially ask a question. And I know I have some members who are watching on LinkedIn. So if you're watching on LinkedIn and you want to come on live with me, just drop it in the chat, or chat, and I'll send you a link to join live. So while we wait, sometimes people are quiet when it comes to questions. So that's the one thing I would say. Again, being in sales is about becoming a student of the game, okay? And that game constantly changes. You have to always ask yourself, okay, for example, this is a great piece of advice for younger reps. A lot of reps, they're kind of like dogs chasing a car. Once they get the car, they don't know what to do with it. So if you're a rep and you're killing yourself to get a meeting with a surgeon, see them in the office, what are you going to tell them? Like, you have to imagine, like, let's say you've been trying to get a meeting with them, you can't. You get in an elevator and they get in at the same time with you. You get stuck on the elevator for 5-10 minutes, and they just strike up a conversation. What are you going to tell them? What are you going to ask them? You have to have this mapped out. You have to sit down and think about this. Too many salespeople try and, Harry Houdini it and just shoot from the hip and just kind of, go with the flow of things. You cannot go with the flow. When you go with the flow, that's how you screw things up, right? And again, every impression counts. For those of you who I see, there's some of you who are joining from Medtronic and Johnson & Johnson. I know that at your companies they have a KPI of 7 touch points. You have to have 7 touch points with the contact, right, to move them forward, right? Those are impressions. You can get to those 7, but if you do it the wrong way, you've pissed the customer off in the process, and that's as far they're not advancing to a next stage of deal. I know plenty of physicians and surgeons where I've been told directly, "Hey, I'd love to learn more about your product. Don't send that rep here. That person pissed me off, or they pissed off my staff, or they just, they're an idiot." I've had a surgeon tell me that. A surgeon told me a few years ago, like, "Yeah, I would talk to your salesperson, but that guy's an absolute moron." He just like that. He's like, "Absolute moron. I don't care that this is his region. If you want me to even think about your product, like, either I deal with you, Omar, or I'm going to talk to your CEO or somebody else. I'm not talking to that salesperson." So you have to really take those things into account. And again, the way you get there is by spending a lot of time researching your customer, including take, academic papers out and everything. Language. Look, it's very hard for me to find a doctor today who has no social media. It's just non-existent. It's very, very, very difficult to do that, right? But especially those who have social media, let's say they have a LinkedIn, go read their about section. Why? You're literally finding the words and language they use, right? That's another point of persuasion. So, for example, if you're going to ask a question, go read their about section, read the posts that they make. You might be able to pick out that this person uses a lot of analogies based on physicality. They might say, I'm trying to, get a handle on this. I'm trying to wrestle this down, etc. So now you know the type of analogies to use. You're not going to go in and say, use visual analogies and say, "Hey, can you paint me a clear picture? Can you see this? Blah, blah, blah." No, you're going to use physical analogies, right? All these little things, right, you have to bake in. But again, this all starts from the fact of doing thorough research and knowing this person very well inside and out. Okay. All right. Let's see. Do we have any questions? Let me see. I don't know if Ken is still on. Ken, if you're still on, try clicking the link that I just sent you and see if you can join. And actually, I'm gonna do a really potentially risky play here. I'm gonna drop the link to join the studio in the LinkedIn chat because I'm not doing that on Twitter or
Try clicking
whoops,
the link that
LinkedIn or YouTube. Okay, for those who aren't watching on LinkedIn, I just dropped the studio link. If you want to join me, copy that, come to the back studio. You can join me live on here. You can ask me any question you want. For those who are watching on Zoom, you guys are being awfully quiet. That's okay. Looks like you guys are just here for the show. All right. So let's see. I did see someone send me a direct message, so I think they wanted this to be private. So I got a question about, as always, I got a question about what books can I recommend on this topic. So there is a book. If you give me, here we go. There are 2 books that I'm going to recommend on this topic. If you, again, really want to take it to that level, like I say, always be a student of the game. Okay. So the 2 books that I recommend that will really help you take it up a notch when it comes to persuasion, but mainly the questions. One is Socratic Selling, How to Ask the Questions That Get the Sale by Kevin Daly. It's a very good book. And the second one is it's a very powerful book that not a lot of people know about. It's an old book called Unlimited Selling Power, How to Master Hypnotic Selling Skills. I know what you're thinking. It's by Donald Moy. I know what you're thinking. It looks very gimmicky, but it's not. It's actually a very, very good book. It'll really dive into this idea of how do you use cues and strategies that hypnotherapists use when it comes to sales. If you think about the last time that you bought something when you weren't planning on buying, you were induced into a state of hypnosis by the salesperson. The way they talk, the way they explain things, you just felt so relaxed and everything. You have to do the same thing with surgeons, which is, again, why I do not, I almost recommend against it. Don't go and hang out at the scrub sink to get in these conversations. If you want to try it, you're more than welcome to. But if you try and force the conversation, right, it's just not going to happen. And I don't know. I've heard various explanations to this. I think the scrub sink can be good, but look, every surgeon knows what you're doing, right? It's kind of like being, like when you like when I see guys at a bar and they're trying to meet a girl and they go and they pretend like they're ordering a drink, but it's blatantly obvious they're not. That's what you look like at the scrub sink, right? And every surgeon, I don't care who it is, I'm sure they will admit this, when they're walking up to the scrub sink and they see the red cap and they don't know who you are, the first thing that they're thinking is, God, I hope this person does not bother me right now, because they're getting ready for surgery, guys. They don't give a shit about your product. They're getting ready for surgery. Find another opportunity. If you want, here's my recommendation. Actually, here's a great recommendation. If you want to deploy the scrub sink tactic, this is what you do. Okay? You're at the scrub sink. You allow them to come to it, right? What I recommend, let's say back here, this is a scrub sink, pretend you're the surgeon and you're walking towards me. You're not going to do this and just stand there. Okay. What you're going to do is kind of be at an angle like this. Okay. So that way they can walk up. It's not so aggressive because you're not facing them. This is very aggressive. Okay. This is a psychological principle. So let's say the surgeon walks up, they come to you and now they're standing next to you. They're starting to scrub it. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to turn around like this, because now what does that look like? It looks like at any point, you're going to walk away. This is a very important concept here of body language, because if you don't, it looks like you're just standing there. You're going to just, invade their space. You're not going to go anywhere. The moment you do this, it looks like you're going to walk away, right? And so that gives them a little bit of ease. The pressure's off. And I would even rock a little bit forward like this, and talk over your shoulder to them. So if you're going to talk to them, they start scrubbing in, you can do something like this, oh, hey, Dr. Smith, good to see you. And they're crying, oh, hey, good to see you and everything, and so they're scrubbing in. Then what you're going to do is this: you're going to put a fake time limit fake time limit, right? And then you're going to ask your question, okay? And here's how it would look like, okay? Let's say you've done your research. This is the one moment you have to ask a persuasive question and again, impress this doctor. You say, "Hey, Dr. Smith, I have to go in a couple minutes to take a call with my boss, but I just had a really quick question for you, if you don't mind." And ask permission, right? So they'll say, "Yeah, no, go for it." I was like, "Look, the question I had is, I was reading a couple of your papers. I learned about this technique. I'm wondering, I'm curious, if you didn't take that technique that you're really well known for, right? What approach would you take?" And they'll start explaining to you, right? They'll love that. They'll literally start, because you're asking their opinion. That no one asks them questions like that. Nobody has the courage to ask questions like that. They will start explaining. You thank them, right? As you thank them, right, start walking away as they're finishing up. Like, don't wait for them to say that you're done. Just walk away. The temptation is, if the conversation is going really, really well, you want to stay and talk to them more. Don't do that. Don't screw it up. Again, I hate to say this. A lot of sales is just like dating. So if you're talking to somebody who's really attractive and you really want to talk to them, you have to have the power to walk in and be like, I'm gonna talk to them more later. So they finish up, you walk away, okay, and that's it, right? And maybe, depending on the answer they give you, you can just add one quick question, just and say, "Oh, great, Dr. Smith, thank you so much. By the way, is there a surgeon that I should look up based on that, procedure or that approach? I just want to do some extra reading. I'm trying to really, improve myself clinically." They'll tell you, right? That's how you start using that persuasive questioning. And again, I know what salespeople are going to say. "Oh, but I don't have time, Omar, and I got a quota hit and everything." Your ability to be patient and disciplined in this process, right, which might take a few days, might take a full week, will pay dividends later, because you'll generate a lot of momentum, trust, and persuasion that'll help you move into, let's say, getting them as a clinical champion or getting somebody else. And that'll translate to the whole sales process, versus just like literally blunt force banging down doors, trying to like force your way in, force the conversation. It's a terrible process. You as a salesperson have probably been treated this way at some point in your consumer life and hated it. For some reason, you take that process out of your mind, and then you do the same thing to your customer. Hey, I'll tell you right now, gosh, you guys must be really enjoying this topic, because I don't see any questions. I see plenty of people who are on. And look, I'll be yeah. I'm so paranoid. I'm just keep checking my audio. I'll admit, again, I've been a salesperson for a long time. I still sell. I have a program. Who do you think sells that? Do you think I hire a salesperson? Absolutely not. I love selling. But even me, I've noticed that when I sell the least, when I'm not able to do it, it's because I get desperate and I start using tactics or approaches that salespeople have done to me that I hate. We just naturally do that. The moment you relax and you focus on asking good questions and you focus on genuinely helping that other person, that's when things happen. And believe it or not, a lot of times the less I talk, the more I sell. It's what a concept, right? And again, the purpose of questions is to get information that's valuable, to persuade, but more importantly, okay, this is the other side of questions. You need to get them to talk, to articulate the pain and the fear and desires. The reason why is because this is why the First Amendment is so important in this country. The First Amendment is freedom of speech. Means the reason why it's so important is that in order to think as a human being, to think, you have to be able to speak and articulate ideas. The moment you control somebody's speech and their language, you get to control what they think. And so in the sales process, when you ask the right questions and you do it in a way that might trigger a hypnotic state, they start talking about an experience. That's when they hear themselves talking into existence, like whatever it is. There could be, for example, I'm going to use this, a surgeon who, let's say, getting older, maybe they're not as fast as they used to be, robotics might be really good, right? But those fears have just lived in their head. They might not have ever even spoken about it to anybody because nobody asks. But if you ask the right questions and they start articulating this, yeah, I'm not, I'm not as fast as I used to be. I could, one of my concerns is this, that, and the other, etc. Right? How do you get an answer like that? Asking a simple question, "Hey, doctor, I hope I apologize. I hope you don't mind me asking this. It's just I'm trying to learn, right?" So you apologize for it. You set them up, right? Hey, I don't mean to ask you this question. It would be really helpful for me to know. I'm just trying to learn. I don't mean to seem like I'm asking you an uncomfortable question, but I'm just curious, like for you as a surgeon at this point of your career, like what are some things that might keep you up at night that you have concerns about when you're going through a specific procedure, right? Through this procedure, for example, right? Does it work all the time? Maybe, maybe not. Again, this is where, based on your research, you start to get an idea of the physician's personality, what their likes and dislikes are. And again, don't leave it up to chance. If I told you your interaction with a physician is going to mean whether your family eats that month or not, aside from all the research you're doing, hell, look, when you're in the hospital, ask other people. If there's a rep who's not a competitive rep, let's say you're an implant rep and there's a biological rep, go talk to them. Hey, look, I'm gonna find a chance to chat to Dr. So and so. Can you just give me some advice on them? Like, I just want to make sure that I don't say the wrong thing, whatever. Get information. Talk to the nurses. Talk to the staff. Right? When you ask for help, especially of people who never get asked for advice, they usually just get asked for stuff like, "Hey, give me access to this. Let me get that." I don't know what. You'll be surprised how much information you get. And when you end up with this massive amount of intelligence based on your online research, your in-person encounters, all these different things, the one chance you get to talk to that surgeon, I guarantee you'll move them forward. This is something that I deployed when I was at Petrero, left and right. As many of you've seen in my webinar, I put 60 deals, 35 deals in 60 days. Part of that was that when I sent a message to a doctor, or if I was able to get them on the phone, I did a lot of research because I pretty much assumed that I was only going to get 3 questions if I was lucky, at the very best one. So that first one, you put a lot of thought. What am I going to ask this person that's going to get them to just start talking, right? So looks like quiet. No questions. And for those who are watching on LinkedIn and YouTube and Twitter, if you can drop a comment, do you agree with this? Does any of this resonate with you? What are your thoughts? I wanna hear from you directly. So drop in the chat. And I see more people join. So if somebody's genuinely interested to come on live with me, just have a discussion. Take advantage. It's just I'd say comment or send me a direct message right now. I'm going to reply with my studio link and you just come on. All right. This is the problem when you're when you can talk at length on certain topics. I don't get participation much from people, but I have a lot of people watching this now, mainly because I'm sure they're getting entertained. But I'm glad you find value in this. For my students, members of the program, any questions? Nope, I don't see anything. Okay, so since we're on the same topic, let me take it a little bit further. For those who, and maybe this is probably a good opportunity for me to share my screen. Let's see. So let me teach you all how to ask questions via LinkedIn on orthopedic, or not orthopedic posts, I'm sorry, on any kind of post. Now, if you're watching live and you want me to use your specialty, comment with your specialty and I will use it. And if you're not commenting, for God's sake, do a little work, please. Hit the emoji button. Okay, so I'm gonna pull up some posts, but if I go and look and I see some good specialties, I'll use your specialty. You get free advice here. Okay, let's see. So I'm gonna share my screen. in a moment. All right. If I go and look and I see some good. All right. Okay. Here we go. So I got one good post. So we got one orthopedic post we're going to take a look at, and then let's. I got a lot of people in the vascular crowd. Let's pull up a vascular surgery post. And I'm going to show you guys how to source great questions. Here we go. Okay. Let's take a look at this. Okay. $1 million advice. For those who are members in my program, they've been taught this ad infinitum. But for those who are not, you get to learn something pretty cool. All right. So for those in my program, I'm going to share my screen. So you should see my screen. For those who are in my program, just if you can drop in the chat, let me know when you guys can see my screen. Oh, there we go. We got somebody. Yes. Thank you, Tadek. Tadek killing it today, man. You're on Zoom and on LinkedIn. Okay. So here we go. I'm going to share my screen. So let me show you how to properly look at posts. Okay. Now, let's see. As soon as I get this going, I think we can see it. For those who are, yeah. So we can see the post. Let me. Oh, there we go. We got somebody. Yes. Thank you, Tadek. Okay. Looks like it's working. Okay. So let's look at this post as an example. Okay. So this is Dr. Moby Parson. He's a joint surgeon. Okay. So let's read the post. Okay. And again, this foundational tactic, this process right here is very important. The processes you implement in sales, the disciplines you have will determine how successful you're going to be. Okay. You go find a post from Dr. Parsons. Okay. Total knee after HTO. How much hardware are taking out and what are you worried about before cutting? So even better, he asks a question. Now, here's the opportunities. 52 people like this. There's only 12 comments. All right. Now, what you start doing is what? You're gathering intelligence. You don't have to guess as a rep. Okay. Look, you can go and look, here's Dr. Claps. He's asking this question. Read this, maybe put it in a Word doc. Here's another physician, right? Read what they're talking about, okay? You know, there we go. Let's see. Here's another surgeon. Read what other surgeons are posting, and then you'll start to get a rhythm, right? So now based on this, you can make an observation, ask a question. So the way you do this, and again, the key here, Dr. Claps knows what he's doing here. You got to tag the person so you can start typing a response, right? So you can say, "Hi at Moby Parsons." Make your observation. So observation from comments below plus, see, it's formulaic, plus question, right? You do that, then you get this person's attention, okay? Now, once you do this, you have to wait, see if they respond, right? If they don't, see, what I would say is that Moby Parsons doesn't get notified by LinkedIn very well because he has all these comments. I know for a fact he'd probably respond to them if he knew, right? Yeah, see, he even the people who are liking it, it's not him. So then as soon as you post, click these three dots, copy the link to your comment, and send them a message. Say, hey, Dr. Parson, I asked this question. I would really love if you can answer so other surgeons in my network can see it. And you'll get engagement. And then as a result, you'll become the most relevant comment, which means all of these people for a week start seeing your face, your name, etc. Okay. Let's look in the vascular space. Okay. Here's Mazen. Oh, I know Mazen. Mazen's a great guy. Mazen of Texas Vascular Surgery, 83-year-old man, and presents with right lower quadrant pain and acute renal failure. Right. So he writes about the case. Right. He writes about why he used this product, right? Okay. Oh, and by the way, funny enough, how hilarious is that? I remember when I commented on this thing had like 10 or 15 likes. It's got 132 likes. It's got 10 comments, 2 shares, which means thousands of people have viewed this. Physicians, hiring managers, etc. And guess what? I made a very simple post, very simple comment, and guess what? Now I own this real estate. Most relevant comment. Look at that. All these other people who are down below, when this post is circulating LinkedIn, everybody's seeing the post, and when they go to make a comment or like, they can see my name, my face, my headline. It's not by accident that most, if not all, med reps online have heard about me. It's not an accident that a lot of physicians have heard about me. It's because just by deploying this, I'm deploying a system that essentially helps me figure out. Oh, and I see guy that has spine toxic nitric oxide. I'll try and get that. Danya got lucky with the vascular surgery. So, for example, here's your comments, your questions don't have to be very complicated. For this, I'm not in vascular, so I didn't know what to ask. So, but I did notice. I'm like, oh, well, he talks about this, and he said it's requiring this product. Guess what I did? I went and said, hey, Mazen, great case. Why did it require full coverage with that specific product? Okay. Now, I could have left it there. He may or may not have responded. So he said there are several makers that would have worked. This device is very user friendly. That's helpful. By the way, somebody from Gore should probably be paying attention to this kind of stuff, because that's a great testimonial right there, right? But to make sure that he would reply to my comment, right? Because again, look, there's all these other people who have commented. He didn't reply back, right? So why did he reply back to me? The only other person he replied back to was the interventional cardiologist, right? So the reason why he replied back to me is that I decided to use something persuasive, right? Twofold persuasion here. Number one, I tagged another physician, okay? Check this out. So when he sees my reply, he knows for a fact that another physician is going to be seeing the reply as well. That's probably one reason why he replied to me. The second reason, and this is deep persuasion right here. Names can be persuasive. Mazen has the same name as this other doctor who I tagged, Mazen Khatib, and yes, that is my father. When you see somebody with the same name as you, you're more persuaded to engage with them, just purely out of a liking effect, right? And so again, some of you may not be comfortable doing that, but if you're talking or engaging with a doctor, let's say it's Sally Smith, and you know a doctor named Dr. John Sally, tag that physician. That's a little tactic for you, okay? Now, Gaida put spine. So let's see if we can find a spine post. I mean, I'm just going to do this to humor Gaida, but Gaida's been like running point on this tactic for weeks now, so she knows this pretty well. Yeah, so here we go. Another great example, Alok Sharan, using regional anesthesia in spine surgery. So learning how to integrate these new regional techniques has been critical for the development of awake spine surgery program. Okay, great. So what I would do is, one, go look up awake spine surgery. So now you realize it's exactly what it is. It's awake spine surgery. So now go to the comments, right? We go to the comments. Look, the physicians put, okay, let me make a comment here. Do you think this is an important post to this physician if he spent the time to write this out and then tag all of these people and then link the actual article? Yes. Go read the article, right? And let me teach you guys. I'm going to teach you guys how you're supposed to read articles, okay? Publications on awake. So wherever, here, regional spine surgery, anesthesia. Okay, so let's look at this article. This is how you're supposed to read articles. Again, I hear you would be amazed how many excuses I hear from reps. and how much they whine a lot. I don't have time. I don't know what. Okay. Here's how you read this. Excuse me. Okay. There's only an abstract. So I can read the abstract. Let's say you can't get access to this. Here you do. Here's what you do. Regional anesthesia for spine surgery. Okay. So I would copy this whole thing. First of all, look and see. So obviously you have to buy this, right? Well, there's another way around this. Copy paste the name of the journal into Google. Okay, so you have the name, you have one, you just need one author. Here we go. Look at this. And sometimes this doesn't always work. You put .pdf. Let's see what comes up. All right, ResearchGate. Let's see. Does that bring us to the article? Request full text. Nope. All right, let's go back. Let's go back to Google. Okay. Try a few other places. Sometimes these things are not available. Okay. Now, here's what I would say. Most reps, most sales reps stop here. It's like, I can't read the article. I don't have anything to share. I'm not gonna comment. Here's what you would do. Okay. Go read some of these comments, get an idea, right? And then just ask him, right? At Alok Sharan, why is regional anesthesia so important? And is it only important for awake spine surgery, or are there other procedures? Have him reply, but then send him a message, right? And just send him a message and say, hey, Dr. Sharan, I hope you don't mind me doing this, but by any chance, do you have a copy of that article you posted? Because when I tried to go read it, it's blocked. I have to be a member of AOS, and I don't have a ResearchGate password. Is there any chance you can share with me? Right? They'll do it. I've had surgeons literally not only share PDFs with me. I've had one of them literally went to the article and screenshot and circled in some key areas for me to look at. They're doing this for a reason, and they're doing this. I mean, if they just wanted this to be limited to their peer group, they would have just posted these things on Doximity or something, right? That's why they're doing it on here. All right, last one. Tadak said, "Oh, you know what? Hold on. Let's go back. We got a comment. I got a very interesting comment. So let me stop sharing. So Danya has a comment." All right. And by the way, on Zoom, I think they didn't see my. Okay, now you saw my screen. So let me come back. Let me come back real quick to Danya's comment. Whoops. Okay, there we go. All right, so Danya's comment. So Danya has a comment. She says, thanks, Omar. Unfortunately, the problem with commenting on a surgeon's post is restricted by their company policy for many reps. We can like a post, no comment, no reshare. With that said, how should I engage my vascular surgeons when it comes to a highly competitive endo-aortic grafts? Okay, so Danya, so a couple of things. I'm not going to go look at the company that you work for, but Danya, please send me a message. And if anything, Danya, go look at my profile, click the webinar link, go watch my webinar, okay? First of all, I find that very, very hard to believe. What your company does not want you to do is comment on surgeons' posts about your product and make claims. That's what they do not want you doing. A company legally cannot tell you, don't do anything on social media. They can tell you, hey, don't do anything regarding our company. Don't talk about our product. That's fine. But if you go and comment on a surgeon's post and ask a question, that's perfectly legal. If you're a rep, by the way, if you're a rep and you disagree with me, message me privately, send me your company's social media policy, and let me read it over. I'm not a lawyer, but I guarantee you, when I read that thing over, that doesn't include it. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing, Danya, is how should you engage your own vascular surgeons when it comes to highly competitive? So when you say your surgeons, I'm going to assume that it means your own customers, right? And Danya, if let me see if I can get Danya on. Danya, I'm gonna see if I can send you a link to the studio. It'd be great if you can just come on program. I don't normally do. Oh no, we're not connected, so I can't send you a direct message right now. That's okay. I'm just gonna do my best to answer this right now. So Danya, when it comes to your own surgeons, okay, let's assume, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. Let's assume that it's true. Your company's doesn't let you comment or share anything. By the way, that's such a stupid thing. By the way, I'm so sorry if that's true. Then what you need to be really good about doing is finding ways to help your surgeons post on LinkedIn, which means when you're in a case, if that means, hey, doc, a lot of surgeons are posting their cases on LinkedIn. I'll take photos of you. Do you mind if I do that? And I'll help you craft the post. Literally coach them so they start posting it, right? And then if you use the right hashtags, then it's going to be shown, to other people in that market, right? And here's the sneaky thing that a lot of companies are going to get pissed off about. I don't really care. I'm here to help reps. Again, assuming that you cannot comment and like publicly posts. So you get your customer who's a surgeon to post and everything. The next thing you're going to do, you're going to copy the link to the post, go and connect with other surgeons, and private message them the link to the post and say, hey, Dr. So-and-so, my surgeon, Dr. XYZ, just posted about this new procedure. Read the post, and if you don't mind, it would really mean a lot, because I know that she really wants to hear from other surgeons. If you can leave a comment in the post and ask a question, they would love that. And believe it or not, guess what, surgeons, they'll do it. They will literally do it, right? So that's the way you engineer these things, right? Medical salespeople, look, you guys find ways to get into hospitals, even during COVID, post-COVID, et cetera, to sell. You can find a way to get around your company's social media policy. And by the way, again, I'm not a lawyer. A company cannot tell you what you can and cannot do on social media. They can't do that. If it's related to your products, yes, right? It's don't make claims, don't do that. But you should not be able to be restricted from these things. If you work for a company like that, please go watch my webinar, book time with me, and I'm going to help you and give you some guidance, free advice on how the hell you should get out of that company. Because that's a risk to your career. If you're working within a silo and you're not even allowed to engage and promote yourself professionally the way everybody else is, that's a risk. Because any day that company can do a layoff, any day the company can just be like, yeah, we're just going to fire you. Then what? How do you think that's going to work out when you're trying to figure out how to, apply for jobs and get the attention of hiring managers and everything, and you've never used LinkedIn, right? So yeah, I really doubt that's the case. But Danya, it's a great question. I appreciate you asking me it. So that's what this is. Danya, so I rarely do this, but again, I haven't gotten any questions from my group. Danya, accept my connection request. I think you did. And the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to send you, Danya, go look in, I'm going to drop in the chat for this live stream. Okay. I'm going to drop the link to come to the studio. Oops, there we go. I'm at Danya. Let's see. I want you to click that link. You don't have to come on video, but just come on and have a conversation. I'd love to chat with you. You're gonna get free advice here. Just take advantage of it. It's a lot of fun. Click this link. Okay, so I'm dropping this link. Okay, just copy paste it or accept my my connection request, and let's see if we can get you on. Okay, there we go. Try that. Here we go. Danya, go check your messages. So let's see if we can get Danya on for a little bit, because I do want to talk to sales reps. I want to talk to people who are going through this. and let me do my best to help. So we'll see if Danya can come on. I'll give it a minute. No pressure though, because I might have scared her off, but that's okay. So but just to I want to copy the comment on this. Again, I can't read Danya's mind, but this is a common issue I see. So like reps second guessing themselves, or they're afraid. It's not because they can't do this. It's because their company, either directly or indirectly, have made them so fearful of making a mistake and losing their jobs that they're not really allowed to find creative, effective, strategic ways to sell anymore. They just go by the old playbook, and then when they don't hit quota, they don't hit their goals, their company turns around and punishes them more, right? So this is part of the problem that I'm trying to solve. I will solve. We'll see how long that takes. It's going to take a few years, but little by little, it's changing. All right. So while I wait, we'll see if Donnie's going to change. No questions on Zoom. All right. I think, that might be Danya. Let's see. No. All right. So it looks like Danya may not be joining. That's totally okay. So that's those are the main topics for today I wanted to cover. I really appreciate everybody joining as usual. And if you're interested to learn more about the program that I have, if anything, just get the free advice. Click the link in the post here, or just go to my LinkedIn profile, scroll down to the featured section. You'll see a post about a medical sales webinar. Watch that webinar. It's free. It's got really good advice in there, really great strategies. And I have a free consult. You can book time with me for 30 minutes. I'll give you free advice, consult you about your sales goals and your career. And, in that process, I'll see if you qualify for my program. But the reality of that consult is that that's my way of interacting directly with the market, learning from sales reps, and helping them as much as I can. So with that all being said, really appreciate you guys as always. And thank you for, once again, bearing with me through technical difficulties. We'll get it right one day. LinkedIn will, hopefully. All right, everyone. Bye for now.